In this video, I am comparing two different wheel cleaners, one of which is P&S Brake Buster, and I'm gonna explain why I don't think this should be categorized as a professional detailing wheel cleaner. What's going on, guys? Luke here with Wilson Auto Detailing. Because P&S Brake Buster is such a popular wheel cleaner in the detailing industry, and I really like to come from a professional detailer's perspective, I wanna jump into a comparison of two heavily brake dusted wheels where I'm testing P&S Brake Buster against Superior Products Dark Fury. Now, as you guys look at the before of just this first wheel, the two areas of the wheel I want you to take note of is, of course, the face of the wheel and the inner barrel, which is much harder to see because it's super dark and unless you take a flashlight in there. But you can imagine that in the inner barrel, the brake dust is even worse than on the face, okay? Both of these wheels are kind of as similar as possible in terms of the caked on brake dust. I'm starting with the Dark Fury from Superior Products, diluted 10-1. Now, I want to explain how I think about wheel cleaners in the professional world. A lot of really effective wheel cleaners are acidic cleaners. The Dark Fury and the P&S Brake Buster both are non-acidic wheel cleaners. Acids are going to react with brake dust way more effectively than non-acids. The problem is I tend not to use any type of acid in my detailing business anymore because it does carry some like carcinogenic health potential effects, and it's just not worth it to me. So because there are so many side effects with your health or potential side effects with your health with acids, I just go for non-acidic wheel cleaners altogether. And the Dark Fury from Superior Products has become one of those really overbuilt products that I think doesn't have enough awareness in the detailing world because it's so effective, but not the most talked about thing. So the first way I want to prove to you guys and sort of do this empirical test in some sense is by spraying the wheel on the brake dust and not agitating it. Okay, this is a lot of brake dust. It's a lot of chemical. I want to see what happens when I just let it sit, and then I take my pressure washer up in close and start to kind of blast off that brake dust. So the very first metric that I'm using in this video to judge how effective these wheel cleaners are is how it peels off the brake dust just with the chemical and the pressure washer, not with any agitation. In my world, a really effective wheel cleaner can at least do some of the heavy lifting without agitating, meaning the chemical itself needs to do almost like 70% of the work, especially in situations like this. So I want to come in and show you guys the after of just the face of this first wheel after spraying it, letting it sit, and then blasting it off with a pressure washer. Of course, there's still pockets of brake dust, but you can see that by and large, it's really ripped off a bunch of stuff without touching anything. That's my number one biggest sort of indicator of a good wheel cleaner, and specifically a good non-acid wheel cleaner. So I'm gonna do the exact same thing as I did before, come in and cake on the product, diluted 10-1. Again, I'm gonna spray the inner barrel, and I wanna come into the face as well as the inner barrel with my detail brush and my easy detail brush in order to scrape off as much as I can from that brake dust. After I blast it off with my pressure washer, I wanna come in a second time, and you guys can see the after result after agitating, okay? The other thing I wanna show you is that when I kind of take my hand and rub it on the inner barrel of the wheel, I'm not getting a bunch of dirty grease and grime coming from the inner barrel because even though it was super caked on, the Dark Fury did a fantastic job of peeling off after the agitation, even the brake dust on the inside. There is still some brake dust that has corroded into the metal. It's corrosive, and if it stays on long enough, it will produce damage, so I'm not expecting 100% perfection, but regardless, it was extremely, extremely effective. Now, the only way I can show the efficacy of a wheel cleaner like this is to show you the obvious face and then, of course, rub my hand on the inner barrel. Now, it's expected that with brake dust this bad, the only way you're gonna remove 90 to 100% of the inner barrel brake dust is with some sort of acid unless we remove the wheel. So my expectation is not that the Dark Fury is gonna take care of all of it, but regardless, you can see it took care of, let's say, 75 to 85% of it, and that is, again, an indication to me for a non-acid, it's extremely effective. Now let's quickly take a look at the before of the next wheel where we're gonna test the P&S Brake Buster. Once again, the wheel is just as caked with brake dust as the first one. Looks absolutely terrible, and it really needs like this overhaul, okay, when it comes to brake dust. Now, I wanna give as much credence to the P&S Brake Buster as I can, but what I'm highlighting in this video is obvious. I don't consider the P&S Brake Buster really a professional grade product. So I'm actually diluting it 5-1 rather than 10-1 just to illustrate the point I'm making here because I have experience with this product. So it is significantly more concentrated than the 10-1 Superior Products Dark Fury, and I'm doing that on purpose, okay? I'm trying to, again, give it the benefit of the doubt here. Now, the other thing you see me doing is spraying lots and lots and lots of product, both on the inner barrel and, of course, on the face of the wheel. I'm using a little bit more product on this wheel than I'm gonna be using or that I used before with the Dark Fury, and I'm gonna let it sit for a longer period of time, and because I'm in my detail studio, it's not gonna dry or anything like that. So we're not in direct sun, we're in a temperature-controlled, humidity-controlled environment. So all benefit of the doubt given to the Brake Buster. Now I'm coming in with the pressure washer, and I'm just gonna do the exact same thing as I did before with the Dark Fury. area, I'm gonna kind of stand back, wash it all off, get closer, try to use the pressure from the pressure washer to really rip the brake dust off. And I think you guys can see already the obvious difference, and of course the point that I'm trying to highlight here, in that it really did not chemically break down that brake dust even on the face of the wheel to a level that would justify me using it in the real world as a professional, right? But again, when I'm looking at a wheel cleaner, I want to see, is that chemical going to do 70 to 80% of the work before I ever come in with some sort of agitation? That's the goal here. You're dealing with brake dust. You're dealing with a type of substance that needs something chemically to break it down. So that's point number one. You guys can just see empirically in real time what is and isn't happening here, okay? Second thing I want to do is come back in, load up the wheel, the inner barrel as well with the product. And now I want to come in with just a basic detail brush and wheel brush and start scraping the brake dust off. The other thing that you may or may not be able to pick up on here is that basically I would say for every one stroke of the brush that was necessary for the Dark Fury to take off the brake dust, I need like 5, 6, or 7 strokes of my brush to start to scrub off that brake dust with the Brake Buster chemical. So even when I'm coming in to agitate, again, I'm having to use a lot of force, manual labor, because the chemical is really not reacting with the brake dust in a way that makes my work easier. Now I'm also going to come in the same way with my easy detail brush, get in that inner barrel as much as possible, and I'm really, again, trying to give the benefit of the doubt to the product. I am scrubbing really hard on that inner barrel. I'm going to wash all of it off and then come in and look at sort of the after result. The first thing you can see on the face of the wheel is there's lots of pockets in the corners where you still have that brake dust. Now, I'm not saying the face of the wheel doesn't look good at a distance, right? Using any wheel cleaner at a distance, the face of the wheel looks pretty good. The point is I had to come in, use a lot more product, I had to use a lot more labor, and I still didn't even get the results comparatively to the Dark Fury. Now on the inner barrel of the wheel, you can see in certain spots when I rub my finger around, I'm still getting a fair amount of grease and grime on my hand. Even on the face of the wheel, this is true. You can see a ton of leftover brake dust, more than just on the inner barrel. Now, I want to show side by side on the screen both the before number 1 and the before number 2 of the first wheel and the second wheel. You can see they look very similar, right? And then I want to show the after of both of these wheels, after the Dark Fury in number 1 and after the Brake Buster in number 2. Of course, you guys can see they look relatively similar, but zoomed in, and we saw just a second ago, the Brake Buster just didn't perform. So I want to give you the 4 metrics that I use as a professional to say this is a good wheel cleaner. And this is specifically 4 metrics I use to judge wheel cleaners. Number 1, it's the power of the chemical itself. Does the chemical react with brake dust? It's hard to find a really good wheel cleaner as a professional that's a non-acid that reacts well with the brake dust. I think Dark Fury fits the bill. Number 2, I'm looking for a product that's overbuilt and versatile. I can use it in more than one area. I often use Dark Fury as what I call like an exterior all-purpose cleaner. I use it to treat lower rocker panels. I use it to treat bugs. I'll use it as a pre-foam or pre-chemical decontamination in some sense before I come in with an agitation wash. I can use it in a lot of areas. The Brake Buster is really not even effective enough for me to justify the use at the wheel level, much less any other area of the car, especially considering that I can't dilute it as much as I can dilute the Dark Fury. And that moves me into metric number 3, which is the dilutability, and you could call this a product that's overbuilt. I want a hyper-concentrated product, and the Brake Buster just doesn't fit the bill for me as a professional. And fourthly, I want something that's not harmful to my health. In this case, both of these products really fit that bill, and I'll actually say that the Brake Buster is probably easier to deal with in terms of fumes and just overspray than the Dark Fury, though the Dark Fury is not going to be harmful to my health either, even in a closed environment, spraying it on the wheels like this relative to an acid. And so given what I need it to do, it only makes sense for me to choose the Dark Fury over the Brake Buster. All right, guys, I hope this video was helpful. Because the Brake Buster is something that's used by so many beginners, it's not that I'm trying to dog P&S. I love their Interior Express cleaner. I love many of their cleaners. Point being is, coming from a professional perspective, it is often better to veer elsewhere in my experience than the Brake Buster specific product, but that's true of all chemical companies. They have some things that work incredible and some things I don't necessarily prefer. If you guys want a full list of every product and tool I suggest for interiors and exteriors, you can get it below. It's called the Pro Detailing Toolbox. It's totally free. And as always, from Luke here at Wilson Auto Detailing, remember, a great detailer is always learning, and I will see you guys in the next video.